Okay, folks, so thank you. Everybody's still coming in. I hope you're all looking at the instructions on your screen. Something fun for you to do to practice your artistry skills. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Arvind, Ramesh, Dipanshu. Excellent. So we have lots of people coming in. Okay, shall we get started? Sanjay, on the dot.
Sure.
Excellent. If you can go to the next slide. So welcome everyone. We've got an exciting 90-minute session for you about how leadership the paradigm of leadership is changing. And we're going to take a look at the next evolution of leadership, which is around being a facilitative leader. So my name is Vinay. I will be one of your facilitators, actually more of an assistant to Sanjay in this workshop, because he's our guru in this area. I'm one of the directors of C2C-OD and also very passionate about facilitation. I'm actually on the global board of the International Association of Facilitators and was actually very, very happy to see when my colleague Sanjay decided to write this book. So he is also very passionate like me in facilitation, is a certified professional facilitator, and wrote an awesome book called The Facilitative Leader. And they were going to explore a little bit about the concepts that he covered in that book. And over to Sanjay. You want to take it?
All right. Thank you, Vinay, and a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining in on this 90-minute session. And just to share, there are a few people joined us on Facebook Live as well. Given that Zoom can accommodate a certain number of people. So we've got that going. So for those who are on Facebook Live, there are some parts of this event plan today where you may have to do it slightly differently, but we'll keep you posted on that as we go. And thank you, Vinay, for that quick introduction, and let's go.
Okay.
So our agenda for today, it will start with a little discussion around leadership evolution and the why of it. Then we'll look at what's happening today. What is it all about, the VUCA part, the needs of the workforce, what's going on there. And therefore, what are some thoughts about how leaders can be really successful given all the changes that are taking place. Right? So this is pretty much what we have planned for the day. And let's start with the first one, the leadership evolution part. And we'll be covering these 4 areas that you see: personality-based, influence-based, vision-based, and transformation-based. Actually walk you through what that really means. So here we go. So leadership evolution, right? It all started way, way back when people decided that they need to work together. And naturally, when people work together, there emerges somebody who's a leader. And in early times, you would have probably even felt that, where use of power or authority was what drove people and they became leaders. Others really didn't have much of a choice, but whoever had the power, whoever had the authority, the others would just have to follow them. However, things changed. A little as things got better, as different things started to happen around in the market and in the rest of the world, different things happening in people's lives, things changed where they had a choice of whom to work with. And there it became, the leadership style evolved. It became more about following the leader that could influence a person more, influence a person deeper. That happened in 2 different ways. One was revolving around how leaders could build relationships and how they could present. And at that point of time, leading with influence, there was a lot of rush towards learning how to make great presentations. Presentation skills became the norm. Why? Because people with good presentation skills and of course, people who could build great relationships, they would emerge to be leaders. That went on and things moved even further. And a lot of people were able to influence by building relationships and presenting well. Then it came a time where people wanted to look a little further distance away. not just about today, but they were thinking about what 1 year later, what 5 years later. And leaders who either had a new idea, a new thought, they would take on the mantle of leadership, or people who could communicate about the vision, communicate about a grand vision, as we call it. They were the people who actually took on the mantle to become leaders. And now with that happening, and a lot of people able to do that, things changed again. So now it is all really about how people can manage transformation. So a lot of you would have heard about efforts being made to make people comfortable with change, right? So the people who work with the leaders, they were worried about whether they fit into that change. So making people future ready and the ability to work in teams and to work continuously in teams, including the agile methods of working. That's what drove the new leadership style of being a transformative leader. So these four styles evolved, and now we are faced with something else thereafter. But before we get to the current state, let's actually think about this question. Why did leadership style go through this evolution? What's happening? Why should leaders, why should the power leaders manage as they went ahead? Why did it change over? Why did it go to influence based or the eventually reach the transformation based? What really was happening? So what we are going to do is a little activity behind this. We shall get the group thoughts around the question with specific reference to the evolution stage. So just to kind of explain that, I'll create 8 breakout rooms, and this is of course those who are on the Zoom connection today. There'll be 8 breakout rooms, and the breakout room 1 and 2, you will focus on personality based style. So all your questions I will share in the next slide, but really you'll focus on what was happening around which made personality based leaders successful in that space. Similarly, groups 3 and 4, you will be working with the influence based leadership style. Groups 5 and 6 will look at vision based leadership style. And of course, groups 7 and 8, you will look at transformation based leadership style. You take a little time to do a rapid fire introduction, and those of you who could manage to do a doodle image, do share that. Otherwise, at least manage a quick rapid fire round of introduction, because I'm going to give you a total time of 10 minutes in your room. Each room will have a maximum of 1 minute to present once you are back in the main room. Therefore, please nominate one person in each of the rooms to be the scribe and the presenter. Once they are back, then they can deliver to that role. And as a group, discuss and record your answers to the 2 questions that I'll be sharing in the following slide. So those are the group and the 2 questions. You focus on your particular leadership style, and the 2 questions are, what led to this style emerging? And the second question, how did the workforce, or in other words, the people who followed these leaders, how did they handle this style? So these will be your 2 questions which you will need to answer in your breakout room. You can use a whiteboard of Zoom or a notepad or any other tool that you're comfortable with, or even you can just use the traditional pen and paper style if you like. The idea is to capture the points of discussion in your breakout room so that you're able to present it. Remember that you have 8 minutes to discuss and a maximum of 1 minute per group to present.
Just a quick thing, we've given them 10 minutes, Sanjay.
Sorry. My apologies. You have 10 minutes to discuss and then 1 minute per group to present. And for those who are connected with us on Facebook Live, you may not be able to go into the breakout room, but we would appreciate you sharing your thoughts on any of these 4 areas. Share your thoughts on the messenger chat so that we can hear what you have to say, and we'll find a way to bring that information into the session.
Absolutely.
So over to Vinay to create the breakout rooms.
Okay, folks. So just a quick suggestion before you go to the breakout room. If you want to take a picture of this slide, do a screenshot so you remember what these questions are. Also, when you're about to click your breakout room, remember what number you're clicking so you're working on the right. The biggest challenge that happens in these breakouts is people come back and they say, okay, breakout room 5, who's presenting? And then someone says, I don't even know which breakout room I was in. So please As you click the breakout room, make a note of the number of the room that you're clicking. So here goes, the rooms are now open. And jump in, introduce yourself, and go. And for those of you who just joined, I'll be putting you into breakout rooms as well. Great. So we've got a few.
If you do have any technical difficulty, let us know. We can help you on joining your breakout rooms.
I think pretty much everybody's gone to a breakout, except a few.
I couldn't get the breakout room. This is Sanyog.
Sanyog, I have put you into a breakout, but I will move you to a different one.
I think my internet connection was very feeble that time when you were putting people in the breakout room.
Okay, so no worries. Did that help? Should have popped up now.
Yeah. Or you can click on more and get to breakout and join the room.
Where should I click?
There should be a pop-up that should have come for you.
I'm not seeing.
So the pop-up may not come if you're moving them. So you could click on that 3 dots more next to your floating window of participants, stop video, mute. Next to that you have more. In that you'll have an option called breakout. You can click on that and it will take you to your breakout room. I see a few people still in the main room. So if anyone has any difficulty, let us know.
Sorry, Sanjay, I'm not seeing anywhere on the screen.
So you're logged in with which device, Sanyo?
Laptop.
A Windows
Mac.
laptop?
It's a Mac.
It's a Mac. Okay, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see
I
these options.
Got it.
Okay.
Hi, Renu. I'm just putting you to a breakout room.
Hi, I just joined the call and I'm not being taken into any breakout room. This is
I
Vinay.
just assigned you to a breakout room.
Oh, okay, but nothing is flashing on my screen. So should I just wait?
You could click on the more and you have an option there called breakout Nisha. So if you click on that, you'll join the room.
Okay. See, I don't have that option in my more.
When you click on more, you don't see anything called join breakout room?
No. There's no option. Like it's got meeting settings. But, there is a meeting settings, and in that, just show name when participants join. Show non-video participants and show my video in gallery view. That's the only
which
stuff
device
I have there. I've got disconnect audio chat. This is a Galaxy device. Sorry, Samsung.
Samsung Galaxy. So you would have an option in some other location on a mobile device.
Yeah, you might want to do an alt tab. Mobile
you might want
devices
to, because there are different screens that you will see. So you may have to scroll the screen and find a place where it gives you an option to join breakout room.
On a tab, you'll see a you might see a button that says tap to join the started breakout room.
Do you know how many minutes left, Vinay?
Yes, we have another 4 more minutes. I'll send them a quick broadcast message.
Yeah. Meanwhile, anything from Facebook, let me know.
Hi, for those of you who just rejoined or I think just came in, we are at the almost wrapping up a breakout room activity. People should be back in a few minutes.
Hi, thank you so much.
No problem. We'll get you back on track in a couple of minutes.
Sure.
For those of you on Facebook, I know there's a few people there. Please feel free to post some messages there and we'll call them out here.
In fact, those on Facebook, you could choose and comment on any of these leadership styles.
Okay, I'm going to give him 60 seconds to come back, Sanjay.
Sure.
There's a few people who have come back, I noticed. Not everybody.
Back. Yes, people are still coming in.
Yes. We had pretty large breakout rooms, about 9 people in each room, 10 people in some rooms.
8 to 10 each, yeah. Okay.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. I know you'll get the common complaint. You didn't have enough time. I didn't get a voice. Somebody dominated. Somebody spoke too long. Usual challenges of these sessions, but hopefully you got a chance to share your doodle. What I'm going to do right now is, to keep in the interest of time, I am going to go to the next slide, Sanjay, if you want to.
Yeah.
We'll ask somebody transform the session, Anand says. So I'm going to ask randomly different groups to share very quickly, and I'll give you about a minute. So if you can see my camera, I'm holding up I'm going to be an equal opportunity, just give you exactly 1 minute. So breakout room 1, who is your, let's start with 1 and then I'll randomly pick a room. Who is your spokesperson? That had Akshat, Arun, Praveen.
Yeah, Vinay, you may want to switch off the virtual background because your mobile.
Yes, thank you. Good idea. Let me shut it off. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll stop. Okay. So I will be showing you your 60 seconds, and that's all you will get when I say start. So breakout room 1, have you identified your spokesperson?
Yeah, we have Sharmishta from breakout room 1.
Okay, Sharmishta, your 60 seconds starts now.
That's right. Hi. All right. So, so ours was the personality-based, the theme, and what we came to was that because there was limited global exposure for whether it was leaders or whether it was the people who were following. So because of that, personality-based, leadership style was more prevalent, where leaders were allowed to use their power. And people were okay with getting that their rules or norms. Second important point was that because there was no shift from process to people, it was more process centric. And that is where people, stayed behind. So those were the two ones that we could talk about. People joined in a little late. Of course, we didn't have enough time. That's what we got to talk about.
Okay, excellent. And thank you so much, Sharmishta. You've given back 7 seconds of people's of your time back. Okay, so I'm going to jump to breakout room 4. Who is your spokesperson? And breakout room 4 had, let me just check who was in it. To make sure I have the right breakout. Hopefully somebody there remembers who was in it. Who was in breakout room 4? Breakout room 4, nobody remembers.
If you open breakout, you can see the names.
Yeah, I'm just looking, hang on. Breakout room 4, where are you? Sorry, I'm getting my ghost screen again, Sanjay.
Okay.
I can't see it. Okay, now I can see it. So breakout room 4 had Charu, Imtiaz, Muralidhar, Neeraj, Vijay.
Who's your spokesperson there? Let's get to hear what you have to say, share in 60 seconds.
Okay, gone. Your chance is gone. Okay, so we'll come back to, so breakout room 6, your chance.
For breakout room 6, we are having Mr. Vinod with us. So Vinod,
Okay, Vinod, your 60 seconds. Start.
Yes, okay. Our point was about vision-based leadership. What led to this emerging style? I would say it's the current social and economic scenario. Today, people can compare themselves with others. They can find what they want to have and where they can be. Okay, so that's something which they can, because of the technology which is around. It is more an outcome-based leadership, making people believe in his belief and leading them by putting it into action. How did the workforce deal with it? I would say they follow blindly because they feel their dreams will come true following a particular person. Yep.
Great, thank you. And you took 45 seconds.
Vinay, I am from group 4, Charu.
Okay, Charu, go.
Is there still an opportunity to present?
Yes, your time starts now. Go.
Okay, so I think the perspective was that, and this is our hypothesis, that the influencing style of leadership naturally came first because it's the human tendency to get things done with people, and as we go along in the journey, then the processes and the systems come in, and the dependence goes less. And how did the workforce handle this style? So I would say that it has two flip sides. So one is the very positive one, whereas authentic influencing linked to the vision of an organization can really bring alignment and cohesiveness to the next levels and can do wonders. On the other hand, when it comes from subjectivity and biases and favoritism, then it brings the power differentials and can really break the structures of the organization and can destroy collaboration. And we've seen both happening.
Okay, thank you. Breakout room 8. Arun, Ashwini, Dipanshu, Margaret, Nidula, Rangnath, Saruchi. Who's your spokesperson?
Hi, this is Dipanshu and I'll be speaking on behalf of my wonderful group.
And your 60 seconds starts now. Go.
Thanks. So we're talking about the transformation-based leadership. And we believe that what led to this style was that the authoritative leadership style of the industrial economy had outlived its value. And the disruptive forces of the VUCA world now thrive on transformation. So knowledge workers now expect and need a more participative style. And so when we think about how the workforce handle this style, we believe that the transformation, because it thrives on inclusion, when diversity gets represented, the teams then bring their best game to the work every day. And hence this becomes a very virtuous cycle of leaders as well as organizations benefiting. And that's it from our side.
Great, thank you. 50 seconds, okay. Which other group would like to go? So we've got 4 groups gone. Anybody who wants to give it a shot?
So thanks, Group 8.
Group 2, anyone there? Anuradha, Bhaskaran,
Okay.
Kavita?
Group 2, I will share just
And
a
your time starts
quick thing. So
now.
it also, as somebody had said earlier, the leadership style depends upon what the socio-economic, political conditions are during that particular era. So the emergence of the personality-based leadership really happened because of the war times that the world was going through. And that probably influenced the leadership styles that they were there and people were willing to follow. The other reason also is that time the focus was on really manufacturing, efficiency, time processes. So those are the reasons why the personality-based leadership thrived during that era.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. 47 seconds. Excellent. Next group, which group would like to grow? I think group 6.
3, 5, 7.
We did 7? Did we get 7? Yeah, I think we got 7.
No, 3, 5, and 7 are left.
3, okay, 7. Anand, Eva, Uma, Parinita, Soumya, Sunil. Who's your
Yeah, so I'll.
Soumya. Okay. And your time starts, hang on, starts now, go.
Okay, so I'll go with what I can recall. And our group discussed how transformation leadership has become more the norm today, with teams feeling the need to identify change, need to create a vision through inspiration, and execution has gone a complete shift in the last 20 years especially. We discussed the full range of leadership model and its relevance today, saying that the teams and the organization have taken it fairly well. If the group wishes to add to this, please go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So not a single group's taken 60 seconds so far, which is great. So group, Sanjay, you're keeping track. Group 3 and 5, you said are left, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so who wants to go? Group 3, let's get you. Adarsh, Akshat, Aparna, Dibyendu.
Akshat here.
Okay.
Vinay?
Yes, time starts now. Go.
Okay, I think earlier Charu from Group 4 has already summarized it, but just to take what Sanjog said about the personality-based leadership, after that emergence, when people realized that there is a lot of interdependence on the team, and you can make people to come on time, go on time, and take their lunch break on time. They keep doing work, but there is not enough quality you can get out of them by being very personal, so that's where the relationship and the influence started to grow. People become more interdependent. They wanted workers to give them better quality of output, and that's the emergence, in our view, is of the influence-based leadership.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, group 5. Aditi Biswas, Aditi Deo, Jyoti, Manmohan, Murli, Prakash, Rajni, Naranang. Who's the spokesperson? Yes. Going once. Hello.
Yeah, actually, we couldn't figure out a spokesperson. I'll probably
Okay,
go for it.
you're it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Naren here. I mean, so I think it is important for every organization. I mean, to have a visionary leader, right? I mean, we always call vision, mission, values are pretty important for any business to sustain. So I think having a visionary leader will help move forward in the right direction and move through the obstacles, right? I mean, whatever they come through. The second question is basically, I think, how workers or probably workforce have taken it. I mean, basically, yes, for any obstacles, they look forward to this visionary leader to drive them through these obstacles.
Okay, excellent. Very good.
Wonderful. And thank you everyone for even sticking to time. I think that's an achievement in today's time, and it will help us make the most of it as we go forward. Uh, Great capture there. A lot of this which had emerged while we were collecting information about how leadership styles emerged. And I think you brought out all the points very well. So when we put all these factors together, then we realize that the drivers for change in leadership styles are particularly twofold. One, changes in the external environment, things that are happening in the market. For example, more jobs being available, new industries coming up, new technology coming in. A lot of changes in the external environment drives an expected change for leadership style. And similarly, there are internal environment changes. The needs of the workforce change. Now, where earlier they were dependent on the leader to provide them their daily needs, it's emerged as they're now looking at how they can serve the entire family for months together, further looking at a longer term future, and so on. Needs of the workforce changing and the market dynamics, they were really the major drivers for leadership change. And if we bring this to today's time, right now, people did talk about VUCA, and now we are facing accelerated VUCA, and the needs of the workforce are further evolving. So what exactly do the leaders now need to do next? Right now, that's the point. Just to kind of bring into focus, I know this is a slide which is a little cramped. It has lots of bullet points there. The external environment today talks about market direction being uncertain. I mean, pandemic or no pandemic, the market direction, is my product going to survive? For how long will it survive? Will it have a competition? Not only from within, but competition has increased because competition is coming from every direction, right? Products, services, talent, business models, they're all really pushing people to produce their best because competition is driving really that accelerating the need for change. Speed is becoming critical. People don't have time to wait for innovative things to hit them, product upgrades, version updates. They want them all in a jiffy. Collaboration has moved beyond organization boundaries. Now, pre-pandemic or even a little while earlier, collaboration was a big thing within an organization, different business units trying to collaborate together. But now, with the need that is emerging in the market, collaboration has gone beyond organizations. There's become a very thin line between somebody being a competitor and somebody being a collaborator. And innovation being the need of the hour, it actually brings that collaboration even stronger to the forefront. Customer needs are becoming unclear because what you expect today is something different what you would expect tomorrow. And how do you keep in pace with that change? Technology is disruptive. Mergers and acquisitions are on the rise. Bankruptcy has become the norm. Literally every third day you're hearing a major company go down. And availability of funds is becoming a major challenge. Even with initiatives from the government trying to push funds, availability is a challenge. That's about the external world. At the same time, some things are happening internal. Workforce needs have changed. We have kind of moved back a little bit on the Maslow's hierarchy, right? Where we were before the pandemic, and now suddenly security has become a concern. People are not sure when they would get fired. Right? They're not sure whether they'll be able to sustain to the future. That's on their minds all the time, sustainability. Working styles have changed. We have all started to adapt to virtual environment of working. The fear of the unknown future is really bothering a lot of people and taking away a lot of their mind space. Like I said, we are moving down the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. where earlier we were right on top looking at love and need of that kind, but we are kind of now started to suddenly worry about our day-to-day needs. Difficult and very reluctant to make decisions. This is a very unique and interesting point. I was speaking to one of the leaders, and when I was trying to work with him to find out what's going on, he happened to share this. He said, before the pandemic, I had a great team. In fact, the team is still the same. They are still very good. They would take my decisions for me. They would make very important decisions. They would boldly take, and the culture was great, and we were very happy. But all of a sudden, even if they know that they have the right decision, they don't want to take it themselves. They look up to the leader to close the decision, primarily because they are worried that are they in the same space where they can take as much risk as they used to take before, because businesses are struggling. So is the risk taking still available or not? That's a question mark. Second, they are worried that if they make a wrong decision, would they be the ones that are going to get fired? So that makes it difficult. And the second line of leadership, or the layer below, is starting to becoming more reluctant in making decisions. And there are different perspectives. People bring perspectives from very different areas. Yes, it was great to build in that diversity and build that inclusive culture. And now when the different perspectives coming in, how do you harness that power? That has become another challenge in the workforce. Of course, there is changing business strategy, adapting to the new norm, changing business models, working with different competitors, different collaborators, different tie-ups, changing goals and targets. When you have something like a pandemic hit you, suddenly a lot of things are changing. And investor expectations have become unclear. So now you have pressure from the entire internal ecosystem to add to the external environment changes that are going on. And let's get to another activity, keeping this perspective in mind.
Yeah, but Sanjay, before we kind of go forward, just on the previous slide, I want to add, I was today at a conference, the HRM Asia conference, and when Sanjay talked about going down the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, heard a great message from Josh Bersin, who many of you may know. I don't know if any of you were at, he talked about how for years organizations were talking about mental and physical health of leaders and people, and it was kind of, should we interfere in people's lives? Should we go down that path? And now with this pandemic, every leader, every organization is now focusing on the mental health of their workforce. So it's kind of in a, almost we're back to physiological and psychological needs perspective as well. So just as a important thought. And I just want to call out that there was a comment from Facebook, Nitin, just recognizing that you kind of talked about personality-based leadership was really about early leadership model. Right? It was all about how leaders dealt and conducted themselves. And personality was useful for influencing the team, I guess is what you're trying to say. But how things have evolved today, that personality may not, it just has gone way beyond that as well. Yep.
Yeah, good comments there. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thanks, Vinay, for connecting to the information from HR. Let's move to this activity now. We're going to transform you to take yourself and put yourself in the shoes of a leader today, right? Knowing that there is so much of change in the external world, so much of change happening in the internal workforce expectations, putting you in the shoes of a leader today, what challenges do you think you'll be facing now? Given these changes in both external and internal, what kind of challenges are you going to be facing? That's the question. So we will have you move to one of 10 breakout rooms. All rooms will discuss and record the answers to the same question. And you will have 6 minutes in your room. And once you are back, please share your answers on the chat window. Right? So just make sure that you have some way to record it so you can paste your information on the chat window. And please nominate one person who will do that so that you have a scribe. And please click a picture, because this is the question there. What challenges are you facing given the changes in the external and internal environment? Putting yourself in the shoes of a leader today. I'm going to invite Vinay to open the breakout rooms for us.
Yes, and the rooms are now open. So, Mayuri, I'm putting you in a breakout room. Suraj, I see you just joined. I want to put you into a breakout room as well.
And you can track the 6 minutes, Vinay.
Yeah, doing it. And again, for our Facebook colleagues, please put messages in chat there, and we will definitely, it's a common question, so please do share. Let's give a bit more time for Q&A at the end, Sanjay.
Sure, we'll do that, Vinay. I see a few people still in the main room. If you have any difficulty, let us know. We'll try and see if we can help you.
I see a few people with multiple devices.
Okay,
I've not moved all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So when we get people back, I've got a couple of comments from on Facebook Live, which I'll just share.
Sure.
Hi, Nandita, we lost you. You're back. Hey, Nandita, can you hear us? Got another 2 minutes.
You want to maybe broadcast a message, Vinay?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so some unsteady connection. That's perfectly okay, no problem. Thanks for still joining in though.
This is one of the leadership challenges, making sure all our virtual team members have stay connected despite internet challenges. I will give them another minute.
Yep.
We're getting them to put it in chat, so it will be a bit faster.
Yeah. We also have 10 breakout rooms, so you may want to read out a few of those chats.
Yes, I will. I'll start with our Facebook audience first. Give them the voice this time. Hi, Rajeshri. Welcome. People are in breakout rooms. They'll be back in a minute. Okay, everybody, welcome back. And if you have the complaint that you didn't get enough time to chat, even that's fine, because I'd rather you complain that you didn't get enough time versus we had a lot of time to waste, right? So before I get all the spokesperson to be typing it up in the chat, I'll just read out a few that have come from our Facebook. Nitin shares, biggest challenges as a human race, we may not be ready for only virtual interaction. I'm adding the word only, Nitin, I'm assuming you meant that. Shalaka says the speed of change in the external and internal environment is accelerating. Also, she shares that leaders today may find it very challenging to deal with team members from different cultures, age groups, time zones, so about being agile to respond. Nitin shared another one that it's all about conversation and connecting. This is most relevant. No one is sure what to expect. I guess back to that uncertainty. And the presumption is that leaders will have most of the answers, but he or she may not really have these answers. So the mantra will be with the team, stay in the same trenches as everybody. Great, thank you. So for the rest of you, we're asking you to type your responses in chat. So Ashwini Kaushik is typing it up there. Kaushik shares external, there'll be trust. Customer need is also changing. Everything is changing and changing very, very fast. Yeah. So speed will become an issue. Other groups. Charu talks about connectivity and communication being one of the.
I'm also typing.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayuri says very simple challenge of sustaining the business. Or not so simple, maybe. Bonding with employees. Insecurity and lack of empathy. Providing security and being empathetic, probably, right? So, or making sure, or Charu, you're saying making sure that you don't come across as insecure.
Yeah, so I was saying that one of the challenges is that people are right now feeling very insecure on personal safety front as well as professional safety. And then, the leaders, the blind spot is also lack of empathy.
Yeah.
And challenges, how do you hold accountability of performance with empathy today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And great observation by Sharmishta, who's put up there that connectivity is working better, but what about the sense of belongingness, right? And I've always been saying in these virtual sessions today, in virtual meeting, attendance is high, but attendance has nothing to do with participation, right? So absolutely. Low level of energies. Team 7, Anand talks about COVID-19 related uncertainties, business model disruptions, productivity, performance, emotional well-being, and mental well-being. Naren talks about stress levels going high, psychological health, yes, fear of unknown, onslaught of change, yep, reimagining business, yep, lots of stuff coming in. I mean, I think there's a way, lots of common themes as well. There is, from a business perspective to a connection and a belonging perspective as well. Some good inputs. Okay,
thank you
Sanjay.
so much. Thank you so much for all the wisdom that you provided. And we are moving ahead to look at, okay, so therefore, what do the leaders now need to do, right? So the situation as seen from the leader's perspective, and most of these you have captured in your comments, decision making in ambiguity, where things are not clear about the future. Information available is very fragmented. Some people have some information, some others have other information. No one has collectively all the information that is required. Customer loyalty has become a concern. Virtual working, how to build trust amongst teams. I think that was something that you called out exactly as is. Employee work style has changed. Business model, is it now survival or growth? And is it employee first or customer first? Is it competition or cooperation? These are things which are now changing as far as the business model is concerned. So therefore, what do leaders need to do now? In all this uncertainty, some of the things that we discovered was that for leaders to really thrive, they need to be able to harvest group wisdom. Somewhere in the team, somewhere in the group of people, there is some information that is going to be very useful for them to plan their journey ahead. Include the team in decision making, just like what Charu had shared, that people are feeling even professionally insecure and personally insecure, can you include them in decision making? So even when things go wrong, they are with you. And when things go right, they take pride in being with you. Empower everyone to lead in their area of strength. Now, today we are at a time where there is a need to move rapidly. And if you're going to wait for people to develop something and then use that skill, it will be far too late. So the idea is to start using things which are their strengths already. Open to accept radically different ideas. So in times of uncertainty like this, you can't expect one person to come up with all the possible ideas. The idea is to see, even if something is radically different, can that be understood? Can that be given a shot? Can we place our money behind that and take the risk, right? Allow that risk taking, not just by you as a leader, but also can you promote that risk taking culture down the line, because people are being reluctant in making decisions otherwise. Influencing through consensus. How do you drive consensus amongst people, especially when people have different views, different viewpoints? And then being agile, just like what you had called out. I think this was one of the viewers on Facebook, I think it was Nitin, who talked about how do you quick to change course and if required. These are all core competencies of a facilitator. And here I'm going to invite Vinay to share some stories which he's got around this concept. Over to you, Vinay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, even before this pandemic, one of the concepts that I talked about is, and I would encourage all of you to go and check out a hashtag that says facilitation has impact. In my work with the International Association of Facilitators and the work we're doing, leaders who focus on harvesting group wisdom and some of these things around influencing through consensus or open to accept radically different ideas was an exception. And one of the things that Sanjay and I and many others are passionate about is how can we make that a norm? And one example I have is of a leader with a very large company who for years was struggling to get his sales team to meet the company's numbers. And the sales teams the numbers used to come from corporate headquarters overseas. And he was somebody I was coaching, and he said, look, when I'm really struggling to get these guys to meet the numbers, every year we just under it, etc. So I finally, and he said, I really don't know what to do. And my question to him was, what's the sense of ownership and account of ownership of the sales numbers? He said, yeah, well, this is, so I threw out an idea. What if we ask the group, what are the sales numbers they think they can achieve? And what's a 10 look like for them? And he said, yeah, but you know what will happen, right? And all of you are probably thinking, the target will be not so ambitious. I said, I said, let's just be open to accept radically different ideas. Let's have a conversation. So he and I facilitated a group conversation over a day and a half. And I'd asked him to write what he thought should be an ideal sales number for these people, which is a stretch goal and everything, in an envelope and give it to me, and never mention that as well. And during the conversation with the group, which was a facilitated consensus group decision making, they came up with a sales number. And of course, in order to achieve the sales number, they had some asks, some organizational requirements, etc. And in case you're wondering, the sales number they had come up with was much higher than what he had suggested, what he thought they could achieve. And guess what? That is the first year that sales team actually achieved those numbers even. So it's sort of interesting. They took complete ownership. Of course, they had a bunch of asks of the organization, get rid of this particular barrier, enable this to happen. And his job was to just, as a leader, create the conditions for their success. And they did it. And he just looked at me and said, so I was holding them back, right? And I said, well, I'm not sure you're holding them back, but they were looking at, maybe looking at you to make decisions. And since they didn't own the decision, they did. Now, really interestingly, I had a conversation with him, even Sanjay is not aware of this. I had a conversation with him last week, and he said, can we make that culture now in a virtual environment as well? And he actually came to me, he said, it's even more so needed in this environment than ever before. Because Shamista talked about the sense of belonging. this is where the sense of belonging comes in when people are involved. Right? There's way too many announcements going out by email and all hands Zooms or WebEx or whatever technology platform versus conversations and discussions happening. So I think this is where this becomes even more critical, if this makes sense.
Fantastic. And on that note, I mean, there are lots of facilitation impact stories that have emerged, and a lot more has emerged in the post-pandemic era. Might be very useful, Vinay, for you to share something around that as well.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we are very, very passionate at C2C, and some of you, I see familiar names and faces on this call. We're absolutely passionate about the International Association of Facilitators. If you take a look at these 6 core competencies, it's really interesting. And if you put the leadership lens to this, right? Collaborative relationships. Who are our clients? It's not external. For a leader, if you thought about the concept of servant leadership, even employees to some degree are clients now. Leaders need to create group processes for people to be part of conversations. Leadership is all about not just creating a participatory environment, but also sustaining one, and even more so. Is it the leader's outcome, or is it the group's outcome? The leader becomes part of the group, so appropriate and useful outcomes. There's a lot of knowledge, both internal and external, that, in fact, I actually say if you apply the leadership lens and group wisdom, this go very much hand in hand about professional knowledge, right? And most important for leadership today is about modeling professional attitude, being that open to take from everybody as well, and being very, very inclusive as well. So even all of these competencies become very critical. If you look at hashtag facilitation has impact, some great participatory leadership stories that are coming in, some amazing videos from around the world. I'm putting the hashtag on chat for you. I would encourage you to go and take a look at these 60-second case studies from government, from organization. There's a brilliant story from the UK of this gentleman who used participatory decision making on the shutdown of a nuclear power plant. Amazing, right? Because such a huge high impact aspect, and how could they do it safely as well? So this is great opportunity for us to be doing this.
Super, thank you for that, Vinay. So finally, for the next evolution, actually facilitation is the key, because all these different problems that we talked about, all the asks of a leader is answered if the leader can truly be a facilitator. You know, having the skill, executing the skill, having knowledge about processes are fine. Can the person actually be a facilitator? Be very participative, involve everyone, harvest group wisdom, create that influence through consensus. Doing all of that is what a leader could therefore then be ready for the next evolution. So at this point, just to kind of bring up, at C2C-OD, we are very, very passionate about facilitation. We bring people development and business strategy together to deliver solutions with real business impact. And that's where we're constantly talking about impact stories. And here's what we actually do. We work in predominantly 3 different buckets. OD solutions, that's organization development solutions, where we look at strategy, vision alignment, looking at culture transformation, change management, building the culture of trust, all kinds of things of that nature in the OD solutions bucket. The second bucket, we work on learning solutions, where we have diversity and inclusion, leadership skills, business effectiveness, things like memorable presence, the art of storytelling, and a lot of things around facilitation skills itself. And you see that even in enabling L&D professionals, where we talk of how do we create a high performance learning journey, a little around certification programs around Kirkpatrick, and group process facilitation skills. This is a range, it's like a little range of things that we do. There's a lot more behind it. But yeah, this is pretty much the highlight. Yeah, Vinay, you wanted to add?
Yeah,
something?
I just put in chat that one of the things for leadership today is while we say transformative, we believe that transformative leadership, the next journey, or if you want to do leadership 5.25 or version of it, is to become a facilitative leader. And leaders today need to be the guide by the side and not the sage on the stage, ever more than ever before. And I think it's going to be very, very critical to do that. So also, if you noticed, we had blocked you for 90 minutes, and we're actually, one of our philosophies of this is give people time for conversation, and we don't want to give you too much content, but actually engage in a conversation with all of you. So we're happy to get into a Q&A discussion. Thank you, Sharmista. Absolutely. One of the ways that simple thing that leaders need to do today is facilitate meetings. And it's so interesting that in the face-to-face world, people used to complain about meetings, and now in the virtual world, we are constantly in back-to-back meetings. And I'm not sure, there is going to be an overload of these. Zoom overdose has already happened, but yes, leaders can definitely do that. With that, going to throw it out to a Q&A, questions, comments. Instead of everybody jumping in, easiest way is to raise a hand or just type your name and then.
Can I
yes,
go, Vinay
yes.
and Sanjay?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think good afternoon, both Sanjay and Vinay. It's a wonderful session. I think you brought a new topic called facilitative leadership. Awesome. Good to go through the entire session. We're quite a curiosity. And a couple of things that in the future of leadership, where do you see that a leader is emerging? I see the middle manager and leadership is going to be in a crisis in the coming decade. Where do you see leadership is moving, and what do you see that are the qualities of a leader that is going to take us to the next level?
Yeah. So you want to take that, Sanjay?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for that question, Venkat. In fact, that is actually answered in that book which I've written, The Facilitative Leader. But I share that as of now because we're seeing a trend where leadership itself is moving downward, which means that people at the bottom of the pyramid or a few steps above itself actually become leaders. Leaders are not just by titles, they are by what they do, right? And that is reflecting now because those people who are able to work with teams, take people together, take everyone with different skills, bring them all together, take the best of them and chart the way forward, help businesses push themselves forward. That's the key, which basically takes me back to facilitation skills. Those people are true leaders, and they are leaders at different levels, of course. They may be playing with different stakes, but sorry, we're getting some cross.
No, I got it. Yeah. So to add to that, Venkat, I think I agree with you. Management and leadership is to some degree in a crisis. It is an increased crisis if those people are leveraging their expertise, title, and hierarchical position in an organization. They will increase the crisis for themselves. But if they step aside and, like I said, become guide skills, facilitate group conversation, and I just want to point out, let's not underestimate the complexity of these skills. They're very important skills, and the individuals who can do that will be truly recognized as the next generation of leaders. If they can't, they will dig a deeper hole for themselves and create a bigger crisis.
No, wonderful. Thank you so much, Vinay and Sanjay. I'll just I don't take much time. I just would want to throw up a follow-up question. If you actually look at today, as you rightly said, that leadership was in a position, it was, there were so many things, power and authority, everything was associated. How do we tell them, even they still are in the same dogmatic approach, and how do we tell them without feeling them, intimidated? And how to tell them and how to give them a kind of insight saying that, hey guys, is enough, and there is a path ahead. As you already said, I took a note of it. beautifully summarized, saying that leadership itself is moving downward. Nicely, very nicely. I am really, I
So,
captured that.
Yeah,
so
so I'll take that. I
yeah, go
don't think you can tell them. So if you are going to go into telling them, we will fail, because you need to get them to experience it. So put them in an environment where they are themselves being facilitated and their voice is being heard, and they are part of a collective decision. And suddenly they kind of go, wow, it felt good for me to be part of this. And
Okay.
when they experience that, then that feeling is what needs to cascade down as well. And we've done that in a couple of organizations. In fact, just give you an example, a manufacturing company we worked with, we trained their staff on facilitation skills. Initially, it were all HR and L&D practitioners. But those people went out into the organization and started facilitating meetings, strategy workshops, etc. Leaders loved it because they were part of these meetings. They then said, we want to do this to our people as well. So my last assignment was with them to go to their plant in Chennai, outside of Chennai, train the plant manager, the ops manager, the entire leadership team of that plant in how do you facilitate meetings. But that came about because they experienced it themselves. If we try to tell them, it becomes a theoretical exercise, right? So create opportunities where they are themselves facilitated, and then you will see it cascading. The good ones will cascade it. I mean, there's a much higher probability of success.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. Okay, let me take questions. Anybody else? Questions? Thank you so much, Venkat. Anyone else? Questions, thoughts?
If I may.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. Hi. Afternoon. It is somewhere linked with what the follow-up question that Mr. Reddy just asked. And because when we talk about any of the styles that you spoke about earlier, whether it's personality, influence, vision, or transformation, each somewhere probably failed because they were working in isolation. So something was, of course, missing, right? In personality, of course, the influence part was missing, and so were the rest. Now, of course, facilitative leadership style is an answer, but facilitative leadership style also means that the facilitator or the leader has to resist solving the problems, right? And we do know that we've got leaders who are micromanagers, or they just want to have a say in everything that they do. They need to know everything. So even to them, how is it that you give that experiential, experience to them? Because it's also to do a lot about the mindset. So if you could have some helpful.
Absolutely. And, the example I can give you is, I don't know how many of the audience here is from the technology industry, software development, etc. When these organizations shifted from what was defined as waterfall development to agile development methods, and then you added internal facilitators called scrum masters, squad leaders, tribe leaders, etc., who really became facilitators and not SMEs. A lot of the managers struggled through that. And now I would probably say 15 years into this transformation of agile, you're seeing some truly facilitative leaders come up and emerge. So it's not going to happen overnight. What you will find is, the first bullet point Sanjay had was make group wisdom work. So the first question I often ask a leader is, do you believe you've hired smart people? Now, no leader is going to say, no, I didn't hire good people. I hired smart people, right? So the minute they agree with that statement, then I say, okay, facilitation is essentially getting people to collectively use their intelligence.
True.
And so are you and I ask tough questions. Are you smarter than the 10 people in your team combined? He says, no way. Okay, awesome. Let's hear the voices of these 10 people then. And they say, you're right, I better shut up now. Right?
So in order to have the leaders get onto the facilitative leadership style, we as people need to facilitate that discussion with them.
Yes.
Whereby we have to have a series of intelligent, relevant questions, whereby we would enable the whole process and get a buy-in from them.
Exactly. Facilitate the conversation.
Absolutely.
That's why I kind of said, if you tell them, you're not facilitating the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It can't be a conversation. It has to be a facilitative conversation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is like any other skill, right? So if you want to teach someone music, they need to hear music, they love it, and then they adopt it, and then they want to learn it.
Absolutely.
So that's exactly how it is. And it's true of any skill, that experience makes all the difference. And that's why the theme is about being a facilitator, right? The being is what needs to come out. It's not just what you do. It has to come in from within. So that's the power of facilitation.
Yeah.
Right, right. That's why it's also said that to be a facilitator, you don't really need to know the content that well. You need to be the master of the process. not the content.
Yeah.
All right, I get that. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjay. There's a comment in chat from Rangnath. He says there are different styles of leadership from almost all fields over the last century, and nothing is wrong in adopting. I agree. Even the hierarchical leadership, if you take the entire evolution of leadership Sanjay showed, every one of those leadership styles is still in existence today, and they will probably be around. Of course, during crisis, you're not going to facilitate, right? So you want to maybe step into more directive. But the interesting thing is the pandemic is a crisis, but directive leadership is not working today, because the directive leader has to have all the answers. Even the leader's going, I don't know what the future is going to look like, right? So I think it's sort of interesting that a lot of argument that used to happen is my organization is constantly in crisis, I can't facilitate. And now it's the same in this crisis. People are saying, I can't direct because I don't have the answers, and therefore I need to start facilitating today. So it's that switch that's sort of happening. Mridula, you got an interesting point. How do we manage analysis paralysis within the facilitative style? It's an interesting question, because remember, one of the things that was, you're trying to help the group achieve a desired outcome. The desired outcome is not open-ended. It is within a time, right? If you have to create your targets for next year, it's not, you don't have the next year to do it. You've got maybe a 5-day window to do your targets. So it's one of the skills of a facilitator is creating the appropriate process that helps to manage these analysis paralysis dilemmas that might show up as well.
Process that helps surface what we know, and also aware of what we don't know, and then having the courage to make the decision with what we know, right? So that we move forward whenever there is some disruption or some new information comes, being agile to come back and modify the course. I mean, those are things that a facilitator leader can actually push for and obtain. So that's where it is. It's a great question though.
Yes.
And we have another one that's coming. Those are comments. Experiential learning with emotional, spiritual quotient being high would be influential.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks. And Hermal talks about psychological safety is of utmost importance in today's. It's very, I think it's always been important, right? I just want to reiterate, people talk about mental health, well-being, psychological safety. Hasn't that always been there? It's just that now it's suddenly accentuated in this. One of the fundamental rules of facilitative leadership is to create a safe environment for where everybody feels the opportunity to contribute. And facilitation as a style has been around for over 25 years. So an environment where people feel safe to give a contrarian view and not be held accountable. Somebody who's safe to take a risk, somebody who's safe to say no to the leader. So I think it's all there, and part of that is creating that psychological safety as well. In fact, Himal, if you look at the competencies of a facilitator, and you can download it from the IF website, one of them is creating a safe environment. safe and inclusive environment as one of the competencies. And we actually have a full-fledged training program on this. We've been doing 3-day workshops. We're a IF endorsed training program provider. We're launching a virtual series of facilitation skills. We're doing it for clients as we speak. And a big thing that we talk about is safety. What can a facilitative leader do as well? Yeah.
Super.
Questions, others?
Yes,
Lots of people on mute. Lots of people on.
Almost like going back to the Socratic method. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other comments? So for those of you who talked about virtual meetings, I do a podcast called Shiny Happy People, and one of my recent guests on my podcast was a facilitator in the US, Barbara McKay, who does this amazing stuff around making virtual meetings pop. So feel free to look for Shiny Happy People by C2C-OD on all your podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc. Yes.
Okay. We have some more questions coming up.
Yes, absolutely, Mayuri. It's always been there. But today, all of a sudden, they were practiced, but now we're recognizing those that have done it well. You know, there's a quote that I always say, only in darkness do stars shine, right? And the pandemic is when the stars that have been shining have come out even more. And it's an opportunity for all the people who was there. It was not realized in practice. I think some were doing it. Let's be fair to organizations leaders. Some were doing it. Unfortunately, they were the exception. Today, the expectation is that's the norm. Everybody needs to do it. And that's where people are struggling to catch up, right? And
I mean, literally calling it the new norm for leaders.
Yeah. You know, I heard a great expression for those of you. They said, don't say new normal, don't say next normal. I think we all, leaders, HR professionals, need to create the better normal.
Absolutely.
The next one should be better than what it used to be. That's the opportunity in ahead of us. Yeah. Anybody else? Thoughts, comments?
Okay, so some comments, any comments coming up? Reason why EQ gives an edge to people irrespective of what hierarchy they belong to. Yeah, thank you, Sharmishta, for sharing that. Definitely in facilitation, it's very important to even garner the feelings that people have, the emotions they go through.
Yeah, and one of the rules we have is, as I said earlier, we fundamentally believe that if you block anyone's time for an hour, finish it in 55 minutes. You take somebody for 90 minutes, finish it in 70 minutes. Give people 5-10 minutes of their life back so they can get in touch with themselves before they go to their next connection as well. So thank you everybody for joining and being part of this. And we'll stick around for a few more minutes if you want to have a conversation. Otherwise, take 5-10 minutes out of your time before you go into your next meeting. Go do some self-productivity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thanks a lot.
It
was insightful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks to all of you.
Thanks for the wonderful insights.
Thank you so much. And like Vinay said, we'll be around for a few minutes even after. So if people want to still interact, we are happy to continue.
Yeah.
Okay, I see a few people there. Anyone would like to specifically ask something? Please feel free to do so. You could unmute and speak or type in the chat window. Or if there's anything coming in from Facebook, Vinay, can you check that?
Let me just check. Facebook folks. Nothing so far.
Okay. Yep. All right, then if there isn't anything else, then shall we end the session?
Yes, we will.
All right. Okay, thank you once again, all those who are
Thanks,
here.
everybody.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.